Welcome back to SplunkTalk. I'm Birch, your host for today, with my co-host.
That's me. I'm Hal.
Hal, and we have two special guests for today's episode, our conf marathon of topics. Today we have Giovanni and we have Gregg, and we're going to be talking all about, I guess, the platform, DSP, workload management, all that fun and all that jazz. So let's kick into it. Hal, how has your reception of the keynote been?
It was pretty cool. I mean, I was worried a little bit about the platform for a minute there, but everything worked out fine. I saw in one of the internal chats, somebody had mentioned, I've never been to a live conf, in person before, but this is really pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that was pretty neat to hear from a customer. Chat room, yes, please. I see first note there. We love to have interactivity, so please ask questions, help us interact with the guests who we'll introduce formally in a moment. Don't forget, we are a podcast that exists before and during and after this show that you're watching right now. So it is called SplunkTalk, and you can find us on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all of the things. So shall we get into it, Birch, or what are your thoughts on the show this morning so far?
Awesome. I maybe feel bad for anyone watching the replays. It looked like they may not include stuff like the Jabberwockies and Shin Lim. Definitely loving Questlove. I'm definitely loving the set that they're using. Mm-hmm. It just makes it feel like more of a show than just like another business meeting.
Yeah.
And this is the way.
Yeah. So go to conf.splunk.com. If you just are hitting us from Twitch, I mean, that's cool. We love you. But the big show is over there as well. So let's meet our guests.
Let's.
We've got Gio, Mola, and Gregg Daly. Gio, why don't you go first? Tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So I joined Splunk about 4 years ago. I started out in the field doing professional services. And then about 2 years ago, I joined the technical marketing team. And since then, I've been having the pleasure of telling the Splunk story through demos and different product showcases.
Awesome. We will get back to you on what those things mean in detail. Gregg, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Gregg. I'm now a Splunker. I was a Splunk user before I came to the company. Been with the company about a year and a half now, all with technical marketing, all working with Gio, which has been great. I specialize in platform security and stream processing and performance. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too.
And fun fact about Gregg has the other only printer that still exists besides mine.
Actually, it's powered off. It's been powered off for a year.
way to leave me on my own on that one, dude.
So, Birch, why do you still have a printer?
Mine's powered off too. I didn't just replace the ink cartridge to print out some of this cool conf swag.
Hey, that trifold was sick.
That what?
The trifold, the search reference guide, what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. No, but this is the conf20 bingo. So on Twitter, they posted that there's like there's a coloring book, there's a bingo game you can play, and we're actually in the corner here, so I'm starting my bingo game.
Neat.
And there's also a 4 conf-specific mixed drinks, which I've already laminated.
Are you going to be practicing
having all of them in one sitting? Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So
a quick shout out to anybody in the Splunk Trust listening. I was former Splunk Trust member before I came to Splunk.
Awesome.
And yesterday I was reintroduced as an honorary Splunk trustee. So if anybody in the Splunk Trust is listening, welcome.
Congratulations, and I'm sure they are. We had a bunch of them this morning. Hopefully they are. We'll start any moment now chiming in the chat like they do. So let's get into kind of, first of all, technical marketing. Pick one, guys. Which one is it?
I feel like I get that question all the time.
I mean,
what does it really mean?
Common. Yeah. Gio, what is technical marketing to you?
I mean, to me, technical marketing is it's being a technical evangelist for a product. You're telling the Splunk or any product story through technical messaging as well as technical demonstration. And Greg, you can add to that if you have any more color.
Well, I will add, I get paid now to do what I was already doing.
That's nice.
I've been talking up Splunk for years, and now I get paid to do it. It's wonderful.
Nice. Greg, did it? If I'm not mistaken, it didn't hit me until just now. I don't know why. Did we meet at Conf last year
Yes, we did.
at the DSP booth? We had extended conversation with one of my customers.
Yes.
Awesome. Yes. Okay. Well, then shout out to Jason Spears if he's around, and the guys Brian Brake and John Lim. They have I've been worked very closely with them for years, and that was a conversation about DSP, which I think we're probably going to get into a little bit.
So yeah, let's talk about DSP. I mean, we just heard a bunch of announcements. What are the things that you guys are excited about? Doesn't have to be the top exciting thing, but something exciting regarding DSP and our overall platform orientation.
Yeah, I mean, and Greg can add on to this, but this is something we've talked about a bunch is lookups on the stream and how expansive you can get with the amount of records that you can do. Like as of right now with this release of 1.2, you can do up to 7.5 million records at the millisecond level, which is just insane.
So we probably need to back up because not everybody has heard of or used DSP. It's still relatively new as a product. So
isn't lookups on the stream a Dolly Parton song? Let's start there.
Yeah, I believe you're correct.
Co-written by Kenny Rogers.
Yeah. Producers, can we cue that up?
Yeah.
Awesome. So who wants to explain in kind of the 30-second version of what the heck Splunk is doing with DSP? And this is funny because it's actually pretty close to my day job, so I could answer, but this is not about me. This is about Gio and Greg.
Yeah, sure. So data stream processor, it's really just about taking advantage of data that is really coming in at really fine low levels. So think about data that is transacting at a millisecond level speed, something that you want to take action on really quickly. And sometimes Splunk Enterprise searches would be something that you would do post query analysis on. And I think with DSP, you're able to do more real time than you were before with Splunk Enterprise. And it's not necessarily saying that Splunk Enterprise doesn't do real time searches and queries. It most certainly does.
So I mean, we're talking to a technical audience right now. So we should go into a little bit of like, can you not do? I mean, there's a real time search option in Splunk Enterprise. I mean, Greg, what does it do? Is it not real time?
Yeah, come on, guys, tell the truth.
No, the advantage of stream processing is you're able to combine multiple traffic routes. Okay, you can grab data from multiple sources and deliver them to multiple sinks or destinations. Okay, and what you can do on the stream, again, in a millisecond range. We're not talking about just sub-second. We're talking about on the millisecond processing. You can do a whole list of things and enrich the data, check the data for things like PII, private information you don't want to end up on your indexers because of regulatory issues or company policies. It gives you the ability to expand what is going on at the point of ingest. So if you have a source coming in, you can do stats, you can do lookups, you can do unbounded ML, you can reformat the data, present the data as a metric, and then present it to any destination you want, which could be Splunk, clusters, indexers, S3, or looping back into Kafka topics so you can create intelligence loops.
So it sounds like, I'm going to really challenge you guys. It sounds like a lot of like cool tech, but I don't understand. Like I used to be a customer. If I'm a customer today and I'm hearing about this, I'm like, okay, that all sounds cool, but like why would I care? Like, how is this
I mean,
different?
I can already do some of that in Splunk, can't I?
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
like, okay, I can wait. So I guess maybe this is I can't wait
Well-
for that data that you
Yeah,
can't
why
wait.
does the millisecond part matter?
I think it really just depends on the use case. Like, do you have security incidents that need response at the millisecond level? Do you have long running searches that are running in Splunk Enterprise that you want to offload into a data stream processor so you can make more room for doing ad hoc searches and dashboarding, or bring more data into Splunk Enterprise and offload some of that data into DSP? So there's this balancing act that you can take by leveraging DSP for some things and making more room for Splunk Enterprise for the other things.
So let me see if I follow that. Like the last part you talked about, I could theoretically take a stream of data coming in, and maybe I need just a subset of the payload in each of the events, or I just need like a metric or a sampling of it or something. I don't need the full fidelity. And traditionally, I would just index all of that. And when I start to run massive searches on it over a significant amount of time, the performance may be different than running over like the last 15 minutes or the last 7 days or whatever. So rather than having to keep the full payload of everything, I can use DSP to say, you know what, I just need aggregate metrics of this sent into Splunk. It's almost like the summary indexing kind of approach, where I can now search on a subset of that in a more performant way. I also don't need to retain all of that data because I didn't necessarily need it. Is that a potential use case?
That's
Yeah.
exact use case.
Exactly.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, you want the ability with stream processor. You want the ability to take certain sets of data and optimize them for various purposes. Okay, and it may be, let's say, in a DNS security scenario, you're extracting all these domain names and all these IP addresses, and at the same time, your SOC is producing warning lists and block lists of certain threats. You know, we know you should not be taking spoofing domain names, like the one I saw last week, netflixbill.com. That's not Netflix. They just want your credit card. To do those on the stream, you can reduce your time to create a searchable event or a searchable matrix a lot faster than you can in virtually any other technique or method. So this allows you to bring in data at that millisecond layer, enrich it, format it, and then deliver it in the exact syntax, including matrices, that work best for your Splunk operations, your search operations.
So interesting. It's like in a traditional Splunk approach, we do, write the data and then search it. And when you search it, it's schema on the fly, so you can do very flexible things with it. But what I'm hearing from you is, with DSP, it's like proactive instead of reactive. Instead of waiting for the data to be on disk and then searching it in aggregate reactively after it came in, we can do things like, okay, the data is coming in. How does the payload of that data trigger any sort of actionable thing or security issue? Or we use ML to notice the trending of that relative to everything else as it's coming in, as we're seeing it, not waiting for it to come in and then searching retroactively on it. Am I getting that right?
That was a really
You wanna
long
take that one?
sentence.
No, I think
Can
you got that.
Can you
perfectly.
repeat it backwards?
Yes, DSP is it. It
Yeah.
is.
So, Birch, I think what you're saying, it brings up a really good point, because I
Thank
feel
you.
because I feel like once you've gotten your data into Splunk Enterprise and you've trusted that query, that SPL you've written, and you know exactly what you want from it, then you can take that mentality, like you've done your search part of the process, and now you just want to offload that workload somewhere else because you want it to run consistently and you don't want to bear the brunt of waiting for a search to process. So if you just start there and you start taking all of these scheduled searches, all of these things that you already know about your data, and you start putting that on the stream, then you're just making more room for yourself to work more freely in Splunk Enterprise. And you're delivering those insights faster from DSP. And the cool thing about DSP is you can fork data really easily with the routing
Hey,
capabilities.
language. Kids are watching this.
That was the point I was going to make, Gio, is sometimes your knowledge object customer has different needs. The SOC may be different from your IT admin versus your business analyst. Okay. You may have audit requirements. Your corporate auditors say, when it comes to security logs, you can't parse. Okay. You've got to store the originals. So one of those copies can be fired out to S3 for cold storage archive. Then one copy can go through a matrix style system where, let's take, I'm an old Windows guy from way back, Windows event security logs. Complete nightmare, especially when you're collecting them via XML. Okay. Real bear to ingest, a very expensive system to get that data in. You can take the raw data, go up to S3. You can take a matrix feed and give it directly to the SOC that has specific, users, event codes, timestamps. They don't need the message block because that's just the knowledge base article repeated in every. That's one of the biggest reasons Windows security events are so big, is they like repeating the knowledge base articles in the message block. So you don't have to deliver that large or dense content when you know that they need A, B, C, D, and they're done.
It's a good example. Hal, I'm noticing we're seeing a really nice amount of talk about Smile and some of the other core
Yeah, we
features
should
here.
probably get to some of the other goodies.
Yeah. Ooh,
Because we have more than one product now. We haven't actually talked about Splunk Enterprise yet. So, Gio, you want to lead us off with kind of what's new and cool with Splunk Enterprise, which I think they just dropped the bits today, didn't they?
Yes, I saw it went live this morning. I already installed all the universal forwarders. 8.1.
I was telling Gregg he was going to have the honor of giving us the pitch on Splunk Enterprise, so I'll pass that right off to him.
Go for it. You're so sweet.
Well, one thing I'm gonna have a sort of a precursor here. I looked at product telemetry a couple of weeks back, and a lot of customers, for various reasons, are still on some older versions of our software. I implore everybody to make plans, gather those resources, upgrade to version 8. Okay, what 8 and now 8.1 released today is going to give you. Over the older versions, 6 and 7, installing 8 is going to give you about a 20 to 25% performance boost right out of the box.
Wow.
Okay.
They don't have to do anything.
They don't have to do anything. Okay. And if you're running the new infrastructure licenses, the vCPU licensing, where you're putting all your expense load to the search capacity, then you definitely want to be on 8. Even though things like workload management were in 7, you definitely want to be on 8, because when you start adding all these features together, and the performance increase, then you're definitely going to be 1 on 8. It's you're throwing away virtual cores by not running 8. I guess is my point.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat proposition where some of you or most of you are paying your licenses based on the amount of data that you ingest. But as you mentioned, this vCPU program, you could be paying by the size of the infrastructure. So upgrading gives you more efficiency there. Cool. So you mentioned workload management. Do we know how many people are using that and for what, and why do they start in the beginning?
Workload management is a great tool because you can start simple for the simple problems everybody has. I don't care if you're running a simple, one indexer, one search head in a small shop, or you're running a big supercluster of indexers and search heads. We all have the same administrative problems. Okay. Like I said, I'm an old IT guy from way, way back. You've always got good users, and then you have the users who need more training. Okay. And workload management at its basic form can be used as a training tool. Okay. You have users who don't understand the syntax requirements of a good search in SPL. Can you SPL? So when you have, especially ad hoc searches that are written with, not the best syntax, you could create what we call a runaway search. Okay. Searches that can go on for 10, 15, 20 minutes, and they produce very little answers. Okay. Okay, the search product is tiny.
Okay,
When you
now
look at
that
the
one,
expense
that's a
of that
Solo
search, it's
Asylum
horrible.
song. Runaway Search.
Oh, I thought you were talking about that small answers dig there. Jeez, personal.
So
on
when you
that
have
one.
a tool like workload management, you now get to partition the CPU resources for both indexing and search capacity, and then you get to provide granular rules based on groups, based on roles, based on indexes, based on source types, and you can, the famous one. If you ever worked in a Splunk cluster, the search we all dread. Everybody raise their hand if you've seen this one. Index equals star.
I'm sorry, are you
Search.
saying that's wrong? There's something wrong with that?
That's wrong.
And what do you set that time
That's-
picker to?
How do you
Yes.
start?
All time.
All times index
All time.
star. And if you have one of those runtime equals all and index equals star, just kill the search.
I usually
it's-
make those a real-time search as well. There's like 2 or 3 new users like, okay, switching some of my searches now.
So
and one of the I'm sorry, go ahead.
tell me what it takes to set this up. I know that the kind of the way that we built this, the architecture underneath it, it has some specific operating system requirements that kind of make it function. Are y'all into what that is?
Yeah, you have to if you're not familiar with C groups in Linux, break out the manual. It's time to RTFM because C groups are very, very important to how you're going to assign these pools and then the roles and rules onto workload management. Okay, so if you don't understand the C group formats and configurations, definitely study up on that first.
Is it kind of like workload management is providing like a Splunk specific interface on manipulating those C groups on the underlying OS?
That's exactly what it's doing.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So then you assign a user to a role, and then you provision that role with whatever you want to give them in terms of, well, what can you give them? What can you give to a role?
Well, let's start again with some very simple examples. Let's say if you have, the biggest use case obviously is your normal business hours. Sort of 0800 hours to 1800 hours in the evening, local, wherever you are. So during those hours, what you don't want to see is a lot of non-admins running index something, but no declarations of source types.
Okay.
Or go back to the dreaded.
They don't have many filters in their search, so
Exactly.
it's going to be scanning a lot of rows.
Yeah, and then when you have a lot of rows inbound, but then you also do something like all time, you can do 2 different things. Actually, you can do basically 3 different things with a search like that. One, you can simply warn the user. Maybe you're in a small environment and you just started taking data, and these exploratory searches really don't cost you that much.
Mhm.
Okay, so you just put up a little prompt on the web browser and saying, hey, this search isn't the greatest. You should refer to this internal website that tells you how to put your syntax in a little better. You can do things called, and this is
that,
where
I'm sorry to
secrets
interrupt.
definitely-
What is that called? Is that specifically a feature of workload management? This one is new to me.
I'm sorry, how?
What is that called? Is that like a banner?
It's what is it called?
You've given me something that now I want to go research further.
Yeah.
And so, but that's specifically a feature of workload
That's
management?
specifically a workload rule.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
So
where
if the
you
search
will
runs
say-
longer than a minute, then you would get the banner that drops down, and then it would notify the user, or you could immediately kill the search right there.
Okay. Neat.
let's say Birch is in
That's like
security.
that's like the Newman thing in Jurassic Park.
Let's say Birch is in security and Hal is in IT. Okay.
Oh, this company's going down.
If Birch has role security and Hal doesn't, there may be a lot more restrictions by workload rules on Hal because he's not as high as a priority as the security team on getting these, business hour searches done.
Wow. Hal, his name was not Newman in the movie, but Kevin.
No, I know you're talking about.
Wayne Knight.
By the way,
Wayne Knight.
it wasn't the Newman guy's fault in Jurassic Park. It was actually the guy who owned the park. He was the
Okay,
bad
hold
guy
on.
in the movie.
Okay, hold on. This is the SplunkTalk podcast. It's all Splunk, no junk. So let's now talk exclusively about Jurassic Park.
Okay, maybe that was my attempt at a segue.
Should we say
Maybe.
Wayne good night to that topic and switch?
Yes.
Okay.
That's horrible.
So just to tee off the conversation of searches, one of the new
Yeah,
things
good
that
idea.
they finally added into this release is the ability to comment into your SPL. So
Real comments this time.
real
Yes.
comments.
That's
Tick, tick,
awesome.
tick.
Tick, tick, tick.
Do you
So-
do you open and close?
Yes.
Okay. I haven't actually touched it yet, so
Yeah, I got to play with that a little bit. So like, you don't have to have like a dedicated line. You can do it. Can you do it in the middle of a line, or does it have to go all the way to the end? Or are you starting to smile because you're like, I'm not sure. I haven't tested that.
I haven't tested it, but I feel like that wouldn't help whoever I wrote the search for to really
true.
keep their eyes on.
I would
on
need
how
a comment that
was
said,
structured.
look in there for the comment.
Yeah.
well, one of my favorite parts was it 8.0? When did we add the context sensitive highlighting and reformatting? Was that 8.0? Whenever we
No,
added
that was like
I thought that was in sevens.
seven.
late sevens when
Yeah, that was
we
like
had
7.3.
to turn it on automatically. That is
Yeah.
so awesome. So now with the comments on top of that, that makes
The-
for a pretty friendly experience.
Jay Weedow wants the comments to be on-prem, and guess what? You got them. It's that's part of the 8.1 release available on-prem.
Oh, I thought you meant that the comments are on-prem. Our
They are
comments
on-prem.
in the stream chat right now. You
This
could
is getting
definitely
meta.
index those.
This
I'll
is
see if
getting
we've got it
meta.
on.
Types equals stupid jokes. Pipe.
This is how I operate. I don't know what I expected.
Now, normally we
Can I
have
add some? I just saw a pretty
Yeah,
good comment
please.
here, and I did want to make a clarification about the workload management. Zovik in the comments says, but isn't the main usage of index star to explore the possible indexes and source types? Yes, you're absolutely right. And the answer, because there's a third method to deal with it. You don't have to kill the search. If you have like a business hour rule for performance and other considerations, if someone does an index star, you can simply deprioritize their search. You can put them into a less resourced pool. You don't have to completely ban everyone from an index star. If you have valid exploratory data staffers, yeah, write rules that
Or you could
that will
use
support
a
their work.
T-stat search.
Yeah,
Which
I'm a
will
big
get
Yeah,
you
or
that
your T
information.
stats, right? Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the metadata command for exploring.
Yes, I love the metadata command, and if when you open Splunk, you go to the default app, you see that there's a button to view my source types and my
You read my
host
mind.
sources. That uses, I believe, metadata search under the scenes in order to populate that.
Yeah, that was, back in 2012, how I learned about the metadata command. I was like, wow, how is this running so fast?
Well, the metadata command only searches the metadata; it doesn't search the journal at all.
That's right.
There you go.
So usually when there's a major release, we toss out on Splunkbase a like an 8.1 essentials or an overview where it like highlights the new features. Anyone know if that's coming out this year for this release?
I'd have to check. Yeah, I hope so. I always look forward to those as well. Those are
Yeah.
my favorite ways to get quickly caught up. And if they don't come out, I'm sure it'll be on Gregg and I to put out a
make
nice
it.
FAQ on what's new and great.
Yeah, if you go to the release notes for 8.1 that was just published, you may have to scroll. I think it's defaulting still to 8.06. But go to 8.1 on the release candidate, and we'll give you the list. There's about 21 new things in 8.1.
Ooh, any other cool features you want to pick out and highlight?
Well, some of the things that are definitely improved in 8 and 8.1 is your SPL history is now right there. When you log in, you just hit the pull down list, you look at your searches, and you go, what did I do before I logged off last night? Which is my favorite thing to do over coffee. and you got a complete library of all your search history, which you can open up to an independent search and you don't have to worry about memorizing syntax, overnight and that sort of stuff. That's a feature
Nice.
that I do like.
There's also been a lot. It sounds like there's a lot of new brands or new offerings, like observability suite, and anything you want to share from your two perspectives on, how can I, as an existing customer, kind of navigate or wrap my head around, like, okay, that is now called this. Is there any of that rebranding that we should know about?
I believe we haven't gone full bore with suites just yet. I think that's going to be coming in the early 21 timeframe.
Oh, okay.
I think what we can say for sure is that if there's a name that you love right now, it's probably going to be changed, and we can blame marketing.
I thought I saw stuff in Sender's session just now where it was talking about like Log Observer and some new offerings.
And on call.
Yeah,
So
or
we'll
like
see.
mission control, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the value prop of suites will just be to open up all of the tools so that you can choose your tool of choice for the specific data challenge that you're up against. So if you think about a suite with Splunk Enterprise and Data Stream Processor and something like On-Call, I mean, that just really it's letting you use everything instead of one thing.
Cool.
Yep.
Remember I mentioned a little while ago that, it's really important you get up to version 8. Here's an ROI to go to 8. In 8.1, you get a whole new TS-IDX compression factor. Okay.
Ooh.
Not only do you going to 8 get a 25% performance boost right out of the box, your storage costs you 40% less per index.
40%?
40%.
How did we do that?
We turned the gzip-9.
we upgraded our gzip?
I'm not sure. That was a joke. I don't know the engineering
Well, I know that we actually did
but
add a couple of compression algorithms, and you see them. What people don't realize is that they might be in the product before you're able to turn it on or before it's documented sometimes. And
that was one of my favorite.
Like a year or more ago, we added some of the newer, more modern compression algorithms, and then we let it bake. We do all these long-term endurance tests and so forth, and then come at conf, new build, we turn it on by default, or we expose it, or that kind of thing.
Yeah. So if you're having stress in your cluster for any reason, like you're running out of CPU cores, you're getting stressed on SSD space, for your fast storage, or even your M.2 if you get extremely fast storage, you can only get better and better performing when you go update.
So, any last words on the platform, on new stuff in enterprise, DSP? What are y'all excited about? Because we need to switch gears here and look forward to a lot of breakout sessions coming up.
Yeah, I would say just look into streaming ML. I think that is the biggest paradigm shift we're seeing in how you approach machine learning. Just being able to drop a function block into a pipeline and then immediately start scoring your data without having to train a model. I think that's one of the biggest things I've seen in our most recent releases. I think it's going to change the game. It's going to enrich all of your data as it lands in an index, rather than having to go through the tumultuous process of cleaning your data, prepping it, putting an algorithm on it, and then going back and retraining an algorithm later to see that it's still improving. What these algorithms, they learn and they continuously learn. So I think this is going to be a huge heads up for any IT or security admin as they start sending loads and loads of data into their systems and they want to get quick insights on it.
Awesome. Gregg, any last words?
Yeah, if I have a background in messaging security, DNS, networking security, that sort of stuff. If you're doing a lot of localized threat intelligence and you're mixing in threat lists from some of our common sources, really consider using DSP and using this new lookup feature. You have 10 gigabytes on a module, or approximately 7.5 million rows, whichever is larger. to do these massive lookups. And then you can enrich the data right on the stream. So when it lands in Splunk D, you can, let's say if you're searching, common one, spam house or something like that, you could tag spam house equals 1 every time you get a hit on a domain name or an IP space that's been threat listed. So if you're spending the compute anyways to do these large lookups, I highly recommend migrating those over to DSP as fast as you can.
Awesome. And just before we close out, do you guys have any talks over the next 2 days that we should promote?
Gregg and I don't, but we have a list and we can send that over to you guys, and maybe you guys can fire them through the chat later.
Yeah, put some links in the chat. So wanted to let everybody know in about an hour we're going to be back again. We'll be talking to Dave McAllister about observability monitoring. So look forward to that. Hope to see you in the chat and help be interactive. Thank you everybody for your questions and discussion throughout. We love that. Birch,
rock and roll. Yeah, thanks Gio, thanks Gregg. May the force be with you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
See you soon.
Bye guys.